The opinions expressed are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the official positions of the sponsors, advertisers, or presenters. Advertising does not imply endorsement by the sponsors and presenters.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Lighting Controls Podcast. We have another fantastic episode for you today with a pair of guests. That's right, we have two guests today. They are one of our fantastic sponsors. But before we get into all that and tell you who they are, let me remind you that today's episode is presented by the LCA, the Lighting Controls Association.
And it's financially supported by the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, or NAILD. Check out our website if you haven't checked it out already, lightingcontrolspodcast.com. We've got all of our episodes, a news feed, information on the new council that Ron and I started, and any other cool information that's going on. But otherwise, thanks for joining us. And a huge, huge thank you to our sponsors, who are also our guests here today. mwConnect, you may be familiar with them in their previous brand name, McWong. They are now mwConnect.us. That's their website. You should definitely check them out. They really have been in this industry for so long. They've won so many different awards for their outstanding technology, and they really try to motivate knowledge and education. That's one of the reasons why they're one of our favorites for this podcast, because of the fact they have so many great resources on their website. If you want to learn how to design lighting controls, or you just want to get more information on their equipment itself, but you should really check it out. Great Bluetooth mesh technology that is appropriate for a lot of different projects out there. So really worth checking them out if you're unfamiliar with mwConnect.us. But let's get into it. So today we have Stephen and Margaret. Stephen and Margaret, thank you so much for joining us. And do you mind just giving us a quick breakdown on who you guys are and what you do?
Well, my name is Margaret Wong, and I founded McWong 1984, way back. And this year is actually our 40th anniversary, so we're going strong. And we're so excited about the new generation of lighting, which we call the IoT lighting. And we starting with the legacy lighting, but now today, 40 years later, we are in the IoT lighting, space, which is exciting, which is innovative, and we have so much to participate and enjoy.
Absolutely. And Stephen?
Hey, Ron and Webster, how are you? Nice to see you again. I'm a big fan of your podcast. I think you two have done a great job for the LCA and for the lighting control community as a whole. My name is Stephen Zhou. I'm the Executive Vice President of mwConnect, formerly known as McWong. I have been in the industry, oh my God, it's 25 years now. Time flies by. Yeah, so as you said, mwConnect, we start from, of course, today as the legacy product, the fluorescent, the HID ballast. But today we are one of the leading Bluetooth-based mesh lighting control companies. And as you see, we have won quite a bit of award from light fairs to DOEs to Sapphire Awards of Light Show West. It's happy to be back to your podcast again today.
Well, thank you both, and huge congratulations for reaching 40 years. I mean, that is an achievement.
Absolutely.
In its own way of, just saying that you have been in the game for so long means that you're providing quality product that people rely on a regular basis. So really can't say enough good things about that. And Stephen, congratulations on 25 years in this industry, which is a challenging one for sure. And, I think what would be really interesting, if you don't mind, just talking a little bit more about the legacy and where you started and, where we're seeing things go nowadays.
Well, we started with supplying the power supply of the lighting, which is the ballast. The word ballast is such a legacy that we manufacture the mechanical ballast, the fluorescent ballast, the HID ballast, which is all about the transformers business, which is the from small 3 watt to 1500 watt, and we're offering a number of SKUs of all these power supply for indoor and outdoor lighting. In over 40 years, we have been, manufacturing from the ballast, mechanical ballast, to electronic ballast, to LED drivers, and because become semiconducting, so we now, working on more of the connection of the sensors, the wireless, and the controls, and the all of the Bluetooth system. So because of the semiconducting platform, that we were able to suddenly get into a new generation of networking. We call it networking lighting. We're talking about energy efficiency lighting. We're talking about low maintenance and easy to monitor. All of these things becoming so interesting and so much up to date to the IoT world of today. A lot of people kind of overlooked, lighting being, everywhere. Lighting is energy related, and I think that we suddenly find out that lighting become the hub of your space. And when become a hub, it can not only generate light, but to be able to
Mhm.
control and connect with a lot of the electrical system in your building, and from a basic switches to HVAC. So I'm
Mhm.
so proud of our team, leading by Stephen, is really going into a wild space of development, that every day is new products are coming up. So we're very excited about that.
Absolutely. And I think that that's a really interesting path, because we've seen a lot of lighting controls groups emerge out of different approaches to technologies. And so to start off with the ballasts and then
Mm.
expand into the controls, I think that it is a logical path, because of the fact that you are that close to the power supply that's actually providing the power to the fixture itself. And additionally, you do, back when ballasts were more common and prevalent in projects, you really needed to have a logical and attention to detail process that really required more than you need nowadays when it comes to LED drivers. In a lot of cases, you don't have to think about ballast factors. You don't have to think about all these other um, ways that could affect performance of a fixture that you did with the ballasts. And so you're taking that ability to pay attention to those details and applying it to this other obstacle that a lot of people are challenged with. We talk to a lot of people on this podcast about the difficulties of lighting controls, and the fact that you're providing a solution that really addresses a lot of those issues is really fantastic, because of the fact that we need people who understand how drivers and ballasts work in our industry. And
Yeah,
so,
I think
go
I
ahead.
think the one, yeah. Well, go ahead. Well,
It. So yeah, I mean, I guess the question here, with regard to the technology that we're interacting with, we're seeing a lot of increase in innovation when it comes to lighting controls. And so, where are you seeing that we're heading towards with lighting controls? What do you see the destination as right now?
um, what we see, as Margaret said, we start from really the balance work. So we understand it's very important. You have to have a very good devices to control the light sources. Right today, it's the driver, but because LED is a digital light sources, and the LED driver itself is already a digital devices too. So it is very easy to control the LED light sources through the digital drivers and the digital lighting controls. What we see for lighting controls, number one is it has to be scalable, right? You have to have a technology that can be applicable to small room. Like my office has 3 lights of switches. Maybe there's a lot of smaller rooms that at dentist office. I mean, daughter's office, right? To a commercial building that is 40-story high, right? So I think that technology need to be very scalable. I think Bluetooth Match provide NFC and provide that foundation for that. The other trend I see is, of course, is more and more wireless. Running wire, number one, it's expensive. Number two, it add a lot of more materials, right? Wire itself. I mean, if you have to wire a 40-story buildings with low voltage wires, there's a lot of wires and labor there, and it's inflexible, right? And if you run wires, if you want to change the spaces, you have to rerun the wire again. So I do see a huge trend going towards wireless. That's why we have seen quite a few wireless company, lighting control company that was born and really in the last 10 years, right? I think the other part is what we always champion is the interoperabilities. Um, when we talk about IoTs, that means every device is being connected, but we need to make sure they're being connected throughout their life, right? We heard quite a few stories with closed systems. The company decided they're going to exit the market, or they were bought, technology was abandoned. The next thing happened is whatever you install in your building, it's not going to work in 5, 6, 10 years. So those are the three trends we see, right? Going wireless, going digital, going into operabilities. And as MWConnect, we are really leading advocates for that, right? And we are on the DALI Alliance, which is a worldwide standard. We work very closely with Bluetooth 6, another wireless standards, the Zagas, and so, and of course, in US, we have all the code settings and organization, and so we are really put a lot of effort on to educate the market.
Stephen, you hit exactly on one of the questions I wanted to ask you, which you mentioned scalability. And, we think about scalability in the sense of new construction or even retrofits, right? And about the ability to do, a floor or multiple floors of a building. But if we start thinking long term about scalability, you touched on it with software updates. So I was curious how you guys handle that. If you have a building owner who says installs 2 floors in 1 year and the next year installs another and 2 years later does 2 more, how do you focus on that interoperability and software updates to make sure that all of the devices can communicate with each other?
Okay, that's Ron. That's a very good question. That number one is going back to the interoperability part of it, right? If you have a system that uses standard protocols, then you're not locking it into a proprietary system. Second, all the product we have to have over-the-air update capabilities. So the customer can choose to upgrade them almost every time we release a new firmware to make sure any new features and any new technology we add to our product can still work many years down the road. So that is the key. Is the system has to have that capability of operating to the latest softwares and firmwares, right? I mean, we kind of get used to that with our phones. You have to upgrade your iPhone's operating system every time they release a new one. Otherwise, a few months later, some other app probably won't work anymore. So that's the part of the network lighting controls through phone. You can operate the devices in the field without really sending an expensive technician to the job site to do that. Some of the old systems, you have to be someone on site to upload the new software and firmware onto your laptop or putting in whatever the central device and push them out. But with a wireless system, you can do all those by air and through your phones.
And so, I kind of want to ask a question about the rebranding that you just went through, Margaret, because that is a huge undertaking just in its own way. And so I'm curious if you wouldn't mind just humoring us and telling us about the process of what it's like to go through a rebranding of a company.
Well, very good. And yes, we just rebranded ourselves from McWong to mwConnect. We spent a lot of time trying to think through what are we going to be offering for the next generation or the next
Mm,
decade. And we feel that the word connect is really the bottom line. We're trying to be able to use lighting to connect, connect what? Connect with people, connect with system, connect with the world, connect with East and West. So we just found that this word is perfect for our new
Mm,
branding. Just like Stephen said, we want to be able to offer this lighting system, not only energy efficient. The bottom line is we want to be able to meet, the low carbon, the green, all these, typical words that we all use. That's number one concept is energy efficient. That's why we do
mhm,
what we're doing. But, there are a couple things that Stephen just mentioned that we want to make it interoperable, meaning that to make it easy, open system, different software, and be able to be generalized so that
mhm,
it's not going to be like an enclosed system. That's number one goal. Number two, we want to make it affordable. A
mhm.
lot of time in the past, there's a lot of people thinking about this as not affordable. When we said
Right.
affordable, combination of software and hardware together and make it one-stop job and be affordable is something that we want to achieve.
Mm,
And thirdly is just like we said, scalable. Scalable means that once if you have an open system, you could be able, and is semiconducting, you could be able to add on new addition, update, all of these things that we're offering. So we feel like we're part of the world, the connecting the world, just like a
mm,
phone, just like a computer. And I keep using the word the lighting is your hub. Is the hub. A lot of people overlooked because lighting, oh, just lighting. But lighting is everywhere. I don't know where you go. You go to the bathroom, you go to the hallway, you go to everywhere. If you don't use it, we'll underestimate how strong this lighting word is. So if we make it, scalable, connecting with HVAC, connecting with your switches, connecting with your phone, this is huge. This is the way to do it. We even coming up with the AI sensors. The sensor
mhm.
is the key, to kind of help us, the controlling, the wireless. So AI is so sexy right now, so why not AI sensor? So to answer your question is yes, we're trying to connect. That's why we believe that McWong, the new offering, the new decade is going to be connect.
And I mean that makes sense, and you guys really are involved in connecting things. For instance, like Stephen was saying, how you're involved with the Dali Alliance and
Yep.
Kasambi. You know, there's it's a new paradigm when it comes to lighting controls to have this reaching across the aisle and working with other groups, at least in the US. We hear about this outside of the US where there is this interoperability, but in the US, there really is a limitation, and so it's really great to see a company that's focused on that connectivity for the purposes of not just internally but externally too. And so, how do you develop these relationships? What is the end result of these kinds of partnerships? Because there are a lot of people that will push back and say, whoa, 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 like, we're opening the door for a competitor to come in and butt us out of the project. So I would imagine that there's an argument to be made in against that kind of statement.
Oh, well, yes, definitely. I mean, I think number one, I think in today's world, technology evolves so fast, so quickly,
Mm.
exponentially, right? I think the day that one company control everything is probably way past its age, right? Looking at our space programs, NASA is not the only one doing it anymore, right?
Right.
Right.
So I think in lighting control is the same. To answer that question, I think the DOE have published the status of LEDs, right? If you look at the number, the lighting control is unfortunately the percentage of penetration is still very low. So I would like to tell the industry, we are not really competing with ourselves, right? We need to
Mm.
compete with a market that they don't want a lighting control, right? So we need to work together as a team to make the pie much bigger instead of trying to find a small pie and try to grab each other's business. I think that whole idea, that's what we have to preach for the past couple of years. Don't worry about the competition. Competition make things better. Competition make technology better. make product more affordable. Let's all go out and educate the market about lighting control. It has to be part of your lighting retrofit and new construction going forward. Because like Margaret said, lighting is everywhere, and that is where we can attach a lot of devices to the lighting luminaries, either indoor and outdoor, and to get the data. And data is really the future. Right? I know there are a lot of people worry about the data, the privacy, the security. We have ways to address those questions. We can't just because we are afraid of and we just stop here, right? We have to move forward with cautions, with diligence, to work on the data set, right? So
It's great foresight that you guys have on the pricing, right? And Webster and I have talked about this in the past as well. Is that understanding as a manufacturer that lighting systems need to be more affordable for end users in order to gain true adoption throughout the marketplace, and especially knowing how many medium, 50,000 square foot less buildings are out there that have no control systems at all right now. And a lot of that is because it's not affordable, and it's not easy, and it's not simple, and it's not scalable. And having the foresight to see that that's where the market is heading, and that's where the bulk of the new work is really going to be, is getting those smaller businesses and gaining that adoption throughout a larger market to really, get everyone on board with lighting controls, and then have people hopefully start having better experiences with lighting controls. And it's great to hear that you guys are focused on that. And just, I'm curious, how did that, how did you guys come to that realization? How did that sort of happen that you realized that was such a big step in the industry?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. About maybe, I don't know, Stephen, maybe about 5, 6 years ago, we I was thinking about how to get McWong smart, so, and we started with thinking about this mission of how to get smart. The word smart is not only just being intelligence, but, smart enough to offer something that workable, that is more practical. So, our team has been spending, a number of years in trying to be able to think what's the direction, what's going to be the future is going to look like based on our strength of the power supply. And, the first word that I think of is connect. How can we use lighting to connect? And this is again why we're using the name of Connect, is because this is how we're thinking. So our team has been really, looking at our system. We're working with a lot of the European system. We found out that Europe is using this networking lighting a lot stronger than United States. And then we discovered that DOE is really looking into this aspect of how to scale it. So from a business side, we're thinking about, in order to scale this, we look at what is being offered, at that time. And just as you said, that we noticed that it's just too expensive, too complicated, and then it's hard to install. And everybody will have to spend millions of dollars into software. So this is how we are looking at that and say, hey, how can we be able to utilize the existing software and then be able to combine with the hardware they're very good at, and be able to kind of like integrate it with others people's software instead of you starting from scratch. And also be thinking about how much that we can make it easy to install. Those are all the buzzwords that we targeted before we come to today. So, and then the reason why we're winning all these awards is not just we're talking about the concept. We actually were able to install into projects. It was the projects that we won the award. It was the owners that noticed that, oh my God, this is really something's happening. So we're getting a lot of requests right now, but we're still working hard to trying to preach. I use the word preach. I keep telling my team that this is like a missionary work, that you got to be able to preach to people to understand what are we offered, why is it that you need to believe in this, and how easy for you to use it. And these are the things, this is the mission that we are working on, and we're excited about this because I know we're in the right space at the right time.
yeah,
I've
Ron, I
heard.
think yeah, definitely
No,
you
go
asked a
ahead,
very good,
Stephen.
yeah, very good question. when we talk about affordability, right? If you look at lighting histories, lighting industry in the past, in my own work, 25 years, you see the price is, when the volume goes up, the price drops, right? I mean, from the initial fluorescent, the electronic fluorescent ballast, very expensive. When the volume goes up, it benefits people start to understand. I think the same thing will happen in the lighting control. So when we said to drive the cost down, there's a couple areas, right? It's not just how much a devices cost, that price have to drop. You're talking about hardware costs, right? You're talking about the installation labor. How can you remove that, a big part of that? You're talking about the ease of commissioning, because today you still have to pay a lot of money to as a specialist to come to commission the system for a day or 2 or 3 days, 10 days. Can we remove that? But there's one thing that also nobody talk about is how to get the data out of your system for future use, right? Right now, there's not a lot of people think about that, but that should be also a part of it. So that's what we're really looking for, a system, a technology that can um, help everyone to reduce the hardware costs, can save the labors, right? Ease of communication, but also at the same times can collect the data from your luminaries and for your future purpose, or today, or you can use them right now, or 2 or 3 years down the road, you want them, you can have them. So that's how we think we can drive down as an industry together to drive down the cost of. And when the cost comes down, the volume goes up, right? LED light bulb. I always use that as an example. I was not the first one to go buy an LED light bulb. I know all the benefits. It costs $15 a piece. No, I'm not paying for that. Right when it dropped down to $1.50, yes, I retrofit all my house with LEDs. Right, let's do that. That's what we're hoping one day. It will be that easy for lighting controls. Yeah.
That would be fantastic. I think Ron and I both want to see that happen, where it's much more accessible to anybody's price point to have these kinds of advanced functionalities. And it is unfortunate that because it's still cutting edge, it has that heavier cost burden. But I think, to your point, with the fact that the US still does not have widespread adoption of this, whereas other areas like Europe has much more significant adoption of these technologies, it does kind of point to, okay, the model here doesn't seem to be working. And so we do kind of need to shake it up to get it to be more commonplace. And part of it is the price point, but part of it is also interoperability, like you were saying. And I think additionally, it's also about how you are communicating with groups. And, one of the things I really appreciate about your company is how you will do much more hands-on support to the projects, especially the ones that have unique conditions. And so I was curious if you wouldn't mind sharing like the experiences that you've had with designers and specifiers in developing these systems.
Well, like Margaret said, it's a lot of we call commissioning work, right? I think the lighting and designer communities. First, we need to let them know there is a technology out there like this, right? It's interoperable, it's affordable, it's scalable, right? So that we have done a lot of those through all the organizations we involve in. Yeah, we are member, as I mentioned, we are a member of the DALI, the Bluetooth 6, the Zagat, LCA. We are a big supporter of LCA. We are in MIASCO, NEMCOs. So through all this organization, we try to give webinars and seminars and to teach, to educate the market that the technology is out there, the benefit of technology, and the affordability of the technology. And second, we have been working with our agencies and through our agency to train and educate lighting designers of the technology we have and other technology out there, which will make the lighting control more easily accessible for all types of end users. Developing educational programs. We do hands-on trainings, use every opportunity, either go to our customer's site or we do it here in Sacramento. So that's what I've been doing for the past 4 or 5 years.
which is great. I mean, one of the things that I think we really do have a lack of, and has been mentioned on this podcast several times, is education and awareness
Mm.
raising for our communities. And I think that it's fantastic that you really are putting that ahead so that we can help educate people. Like you said, unless people are aware of this technology, that it exists, they're not going to think about it. And so specifiers and designers are a part of that process to get something on a project. And I think that, also education for end users and every really anybody involved in the project, there should be some form of education for them. And I think that the resources that are being produced by MWConnect are really fantastic for people involved in these sorts of projects. And so hopefully we will get to see that kind of shift. And it sounds like, the feedback that you've been getting for these programs has been quite positive.
Yes, I am glad you said that. And, right now our investment not only is on the R&D and the production of the product, a lot of them is, providing training, education, seminars, and demonstration. And, luckily we have a number of pilot projects already, being established that we have proven, owners that
Mhm.
could attest to the benefits. And so podcasts like this is very helpful that we continue our mission. We continue to tell people that this is something not only is good, but is needed and is really connecting with the rest of the world when we are being so IoT, so AI, that we can't afford not to get into this space. And as Stephen said, we'll welcome competition. Competition create market. And it is, we want to get a bigger pie. We want this to be more as a norm than being just a specialty item. I have to say a
Right.
lot of time that when they say, well, we need to have these programs to reduce energy, and it's not a matter of just replacing the lamps, changing the fixtures, or changing the existing components. This is all about how we could be able to get it wireless, how they're gonna get control
Mm.
system. This Bluetooth mesh is huge. It's something that if we don't utilize, it will be a lot of waste. And we still believe that lighting is almost like 30% energy of the daily consumption of everybody in the world. So I think that 30% had a lot of space for all of us.
Yeah, so it's let's touch on education for a second. You mentioned the Bluetooth mesh, and a lot of people have fear of Bluetooth or lack of knowledge around Bluetooth. Right? A lot of people, their knowledge of Bluetooth is their earbuds, right? So how do you, as you're going out to customers, Stephen, like you mentioned, how do you guys address that with customers? How do you, as a company, work with customers to educate them on Bluetooth mesh and its reliability and the benefits, and work to sort of ease their fears of wireless communication?
Okay, I think that's a very good question, right? And when people talk about wireless, I mean, the first out there everywhere, they're not working reliably. I think there you have different audience, right? You have audience that don't know even Bluetooth mesh exists, right? So we
Right.
have educational materials to tell them what's the difference between a Bluetooth mesh and our regular Bluetooth mouse, right? There's commonality.
Yep.
They're both worldwide standard coming out of the Bluetooth 6, which is nonprofit with, I believe last time I checked, with over 50,000 members that with the key member of the top tech giants, right? So this is a very reliable, very mature, very secure technology. So I have to let them understand the difference between the mesh and the regular Bluetooth. And then we can go into more detail. If people more interesting, and we can go into more detail of the science part of the mesh, right? Why we think they're more reliable, more security, right? And all those. Then we have another set of training document for people who want to understand more in the technical sides. I think we have really have to have different material for different audience, and let them feel comfortable with it. If they want to explore more, we have more material we can provide to them. We have customers like that, and again, and there's the other part, of course, is all the project we have done, right? I mean, there's hundreds of projects we have done since 2018. There's a lot of case study out there, and there's a couple project won the awards, right? So that kind of the attestment of the technology, right? Like the DOE, they're a big backer of Bluetooth NLCs. DLC is a big backers, right? I mean, so it's education, 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 and we have to develop different education material to target different audience.
So now, as it pertains to our industry, if you could change anything for the better, what would it be that you would change about how lighting controls are either specified, built, implemented? If you had a magic wand and you could magically change that part of our industry, what would you choose to do?
Well, if I would have a choice, besides, kind of telling the mission of encouraging the end user to use it, you got to get the top down. The top down is the government. The government need to be able to start looking into this and making this like a Title 24, like a title of something that becoming a more than an enforceable,
Mm,
or in a way that they will have to support that. The good news, the DOE is very much supporting this. The Bluetooth, the NLC is actually physically coming up with a name called NLC. I mean, this name just come up within the last 6 months, network and lighting control. And, these kind of generic term, this kind of knowledge has already come about. And we are working heavily with the California side. California is
mhm.
the leading state
Right.
of
Yep.
energy efficiency, and if you ask them, they don't even have a solicitation of lighting, networking lighting, so this is things that we need to either discuss or lobby, and one of these days, if I have a magic wand, is to be able to set some type of a regulation
Mm,
that would adopt this NLC lighting. So if that happens, that becoming something that you have to do it, you need to do it, but it's good for the community, good for the environment. It's not something that
absolutely.
is getting backwards, it's getting forward. So
Right.
I hope I
No,
answer your question.
no, you absolutely did, and I think that that's a great
Yep.
answer. Stephen, what about you?
Well, I think what Margaret said is definitely, which I also have said many times. It has to, some of the new technology has to be a private and public partnership, right? Because again, looking back to LED as a light source, the adoption is really DOE, the group who's in charge of that was the
Hmm.
pioneers. They were out there doing a lot of researches and they do a lot of educations, and they went on to talk to the design community, the owners, and the utility companies. And today, I mean, if people install a new light, I can guarantee you that probably 90% is going to be LEDs. Same on the lighting control side, right? We see some programs out there from utilities, but I don't think that's enough, right? We need
Hmm.
to encourage more. The other part is if you like, I would say every lighting designer need to add a lighting control package in their design. Period, right? You have to do it. You have to rely. I mean, manufacturer, of course. I mean, you say, oh, you're selfish. You want to sell more product. Yes or no, right? Um, but I think the lighting designer have to understand the benefit of the lighting controls.
Hmm.
But you have
Hmm.
such a wonderful light sources that and you can control them any way you want almost, right? If
Yeah.
lighting design community understand that benefit and they can be the one that go out to talk to the owners, talk to the contractor, talk to people who use light, that would be great because I mean there's only what 2 or 3 dozen lighting control manufacturers. We can reach out to that great audience. So if I have I'll say every lighting designer need to design a lighting control system in their design. Period. Whether or not you will ask for it, and you should go ahead and explain to the users why you need it, right?
No, I think those are both excellent answers, and I couldn't agree more. I think, those two really do need to be addressed. We need to have enforcement from our government to make sure that this is being adopted, but we also need people to state what they want and how that system is expected to behave. We can't just throw devices on a project and expect them to work fine, because everybody's got a different expectation for how their space is going to be used. So unless we have a designer saying, this is how I want, the lights to turn on under these conditions, we're taking a stab in the dark. And so it's not about being selfish. It's about being informative. And it's not about being selfish when it comes to policies. It's about making sure that we have a planet in the future. So, all of this, absolutely. We're almost out of time here, so I want to package this up, because this is really great stuff, and I really love having these higher level conversations about where we are in our industry, and how groups like you can really help out the industry a lot. But MWConnect started off as McWong in the ballast industry to really just support the light fixtures. But through that process, you started to identify that lighting controls are also just as significant to the success of the lighting system as a whole. And so you got involved in the lighting controls world and really became this front runner of lighting controls applications. And you focused on Bluetooth mesh because it is an adaptable solution. It's a low cost solution for a lot of projects. And because you're so focused on interoperability and connection, Bluetooth is a great avenue for that, so that you can work with other groups such as Kasambi to really leverage that technology and make it much more successful, and that it's not just a proprietary system that if for some reason, hopefully this will never happen, but if MWConnect were to fold, everything's not just going to get bricked and stop working. It's going to continue to be able to work for the purposes of the project until the end of the life of that project, which is great. And we do hear about it all the time, where companies will fold and the equipment stops working. So thinking forward in the future, under any circumstances, those are the questions that need to be asked from manufacturers. And additionally, what happens if we start working with other groups? Because of the fact that we have such a small percentage of work as it is in the US, we're fighting over scraps right now. Whereas if we do expand the adoption, we're going to actually increase the amount of sales, whether or not you're winning that one big project or lots of little projects. The bigger question is, how many projects in total are there? And because it's such a razor thin margin right now, we're fighting so desperately in this proprietary focus. So having this more broader perspective actually is with the effort of opening up the world, so that we can really provide good solutions on every project, and so that we get better adoption. But that also requires education. You need to support all of that technology with education and outreach, so that people know what is available to them and that the technology meets their needs. So there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to lighting controls. There's a lot of resistance to adopting lighting controls because of bad experiences. And we need to help educate people who have those bad experiences that, yes, you had a bad experience, but the reality of the situation is it's probably not any one person's fault that you had that bad experience, but we've learned from those lessons and we've become better as an industry to help implement good solutions that really meet your needs and provide a benefit to your projects. But that's, again, all of this is long-term work. As you said, Margaret, it's missionary work. We need to spread the word and make people aware of the fact that it's there and it's functional. And so again, I think all of this work that you guys are putting into the industry as a whole is invaluable. And we certainly wouldn't be able to be where we are without that level of support.
Well, very well said. I think you have summarized it, that very nicely. And one thing I wanted to support the industry is we're here for 40 years. we've been in this lighting business from OEM to end users to production. We've been around for long enough to know, the lighting, network and all that. One key thing is we want to make sure that the products are available. Sometimes when we talk a lot about, new concept and new offering, but I want to make sure that our team, our company, is having the products available together with the partnership with the software company is very strong. And our, the product, offering is also very strong because we've been doing this from the logistics side to the manufacturing side to, from UL to R&D and all of that. So I just want to assure that if the pie is getting bigger, we will support the pie and welcome all the competitor to support the pie. We just need to get this pie bigger because it's a
Yes.
needed pie and it's something that is good for the lighting industry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, honestly, thank you guys both so much for coming on today. And Margaret, I hope that you get to wave that magic wand in a couple of years because I see something hopefully coming from whether it's the DOE or whoever it comes from, but something has to change, right? As we see more and more grid demand, we're going to have more connected systems. And you're right, it is all about connecting. It is about being let lighting be the hub. We have the power source in the ceiling. Let it be the hub. Let's pull the data from it. Let's utilize that data to connect to everything else. You guys absolutely hit the nail on the head. Thank you so much for coming on today. We really, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, both of
Thank you.
you. It's a very good
Thank you.
chance for us to talk about this, and this is part of our missionary work. And thank you, both of you.
Awesome. I will just take a
Thanks.
minute to remind everyone today's episode is presented by the LCA, the Lighting Controls Association.
And it's financially supported by the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. Check out our website, lightingcontrolspodcast.com. We have all of our episodes, a news feed, a merch store, and information on our council that we're trying to get up to support these kinds of endeavors. But also, just again, huge thank you to mwConnect for sponsoring this podcast. We really could not be here without your support. And so, not just saying this because you're a sponsor, but because of the resources that you provide, the quality equipment that you provide, the award-winning Bluetooth mesh technology that is available through mwConnect. Check them out, mwconnect.us. They really have some excellent resources on there. Whether you are new to Bluetooth, you know all about Bluetooth, or you just are unfamiliar with mwConnect as a product, you should really check them out because it's really, I can't speak highly enough about what is being provided through this company, not just on their product, but the solutions themselves. And 40 years is a huge statement on the success of the company and its capabilities. So really, thank you again. And thank you for such a great conversation. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.